Welcome to the Skills and Employment webinar about the Opportunity Group approach. My name is Katrina Walker. I'm an advisor for the Skills Development and Education team. I am very happy to have so many people with us today to talk about how the Opportunity Group approach can be used to enhance employment among young people. Let me give you a brief overview of what we want to do in the next hour. The webinar will introduce you to the Opportunity Group approach, a tool to address skills gaps and unemployment. The Opportunity Group approach is a participatory process that guides through different steps of self-assessment and skills development towards job orientation and entrepreneurial initiatives. It encourages young people to come together in peer groups and share, learn, and apply newly acquired technical, entrepreneurial, and life skills. The Skills for Rural Employment project, S4RE, in Kosovo has used and further developed this approach in the last years. Together with partners, the S4RE project has published a manual on the approach a few weeks ago. Now, what are we going to do in this webinar today? In the next hour, we will give you a brief overview over the key features of the approach, how it is being applied in the context of Kosovo, and the key takeaways. We are starting with the global relevance of bringing skills development to rural informal settings. Then, the colleagues from Kosovo will share with you the country and project context. This is followed by a video on the Opportunity Group approach, and then the colleagues from Kosovo will further explain the approach. Of course, there will be enough time in the end to answer your questions, which you can post in the chat box on the left. Please do not hesitate to post your questions in French and Spanish too, even if this webinar is in English. Before we start, allow me to make a couple of technical remarks. First, if you have any problem with the connectivity, if you can't hear or see anything, please leave the call and join again. Second, alongside the webinar there is a chat, which some of you have already been using. Please use this channel to ask questions or make comments. And third, during the webinar we will be asking you a couple of questions. Please participate in these polls. And finally, we are recording this webinar, and the link to this webinar, as well as the presentations and other supporting documents, will be available on Pamocha. Now, who is the webinar team of today? You can see Mimosa. Mimosa Mirashi is the Senior Project Officer of the Skills for Rural Employment project in Kosovo. She is responsible for the youth component of the project, improving access of rural youth to employment-related information and skills. Then in the right corner you can see Luan Hotti. He has more than 15 years of experience in successful implementation of various Helvetis projects in Kosovo. Since 2013, he is the project manager of the S4RE project, and his areas of interest are development of the labor markets for vulnerable groups using different approaches and methodologies. Then we have Daniela with us. She is the advisor in the Skills Development and Education team here in Switzerland. And she will manage our webinar chat today and bring up your questions at the end of the webinar. And we have Andy with us. He is the IT supporter, also based in Switzerland. Many thanks to the entire team to make this webinar possible. But we'd also like to know where you are all from. To find out, we prepared a first poll. So please take a few seconds and respond and let your colleagues know from which part of the world you come from. So now you can, oh yeah, you are already replying. So we have people from Eastern Europe, from Asia, from East Africa, from Switzerland, Germany, and the US. Do let us know in which region do you work. So far, almost 30% are joining this webinar from Eastern Europe and 21% from Asia, and we have 12% from East Africa. And in Switzerland, Germany, and US, we have 38% of people coming from. And Regula is posting in the chat that she is seeing someone from Mali, so West Africa is with us too. That's great. Anyone else who would like to share with us from where you are joining this webinar? Okay, thank you very much for having participated in this first poll. So now you should be seeing our PowerPoint again. Yes. So you see the theme of the webinar, which I just presented. Now I would briefly like to talk about the global relevance of the topic. Now you should see the slide with a couple of pictures from Mozambique, from Myanmar, from Eastern Europe, and from Guatemala. So, young women and men in various countries are facing unequal access to education, vocational education and training, and the labor market. They may live in rural or remote areas, in areas that are not sufficiently served by the formal vocational and education training system, or they face unequal access due to factors like poverty, gender, ethnicity, or disability. Now, in the absence of a well-functioning employment market, trainings of traditional VT programs run the risk of being vain. So this asks for tailor-made approaches to their specific needs. And such approaches, for instance, take place on-site where the young people live, and they may include labor market insertion measures that start well before and continue after the training. And the opportunity group approach is one of such an approach that addresses the needs of young people who face such different barriers. Now, we are leaving the global context and are going to focus on Kosovo. I now invite Luan, the project manager of S4E, to tell us more about the project and the context in Kosovo.
Thank you very much, Katarina. My name is Luan Hote. I'm the project manager of the Skills for Rural Employment project. As Katarina mentioned, the project started with the implementation in 2013. So it was the first phase, 2013-2015. While currently we are in the implementation of the second phase, which started in 2016, and the second phase is going to end by the end of this year. Kosovo is one of the smallest countries in the West Balkans, with the youngest population in Europe. Every year, 3,000 young people enters into the labor market. The unemployment rate is above 30%. This unemployment rate affects mostly youth, with representation of 60%, women and minorities. So these are the three groups that are affected mainly from the unemployment issue, which affects also the overall economic growth of Kosovo. So the economic growth is very low, affecting very much also the employment opportunities. The remittance from our diaspora remain a key factor related to the livelihoods of the people. Weak economic and political situation pushed the youth looking for the new employment opportunities through internal migration from the rural areas to urban areas, as well as migration to EU countries, mainly in Switzerland and in Germany, where our diaspora is mainly concentrated. Having in mind all these factors, the project, S4RE project, aims to improve the employability of young people through market-oriented skills, better integration of the producers and businesses into selected supply chains, and stimulate competitiveness of the local businesses through investment into non-formal education and training. The objective of the project is to increase employment and income for vulnerable people, especially youth, women, and minorities living in the rural areas. The project includes 4 interventions through 3 outcomes. The first intervention is employment-related information. The project objective is improvement of the employment-related information and services to unemployed youth from the rural areas. In the heart of this outcome is the opportunity group organized based on the learning group methodology. The second intervention is related to the strengthening of the supply chain. The project has identified four value chains: fruits, dairy, honey, and non-timber forest products. All these value chain with the potential in terms of income generation and employment. Here, the project aims to integrate different actors, including farmers and businesses, toward improvement of the quality and productivity, which could lead toward higher income and employment opportunities. The third outcome is about the local businesses to increase their competitiveness through tailored skills training through non-formal training. The objective is that businesses improve their performance through investing into the skills training to existing employees and providing more opportunities for the possible future employees. The fourth intervention, which is included in 2 outcomes, is about the training providers. So the project was toward having the pool of the training providers who are capable to offer skills development to youth in the selected supply chains. The objective of this intervention is that the web-based platform is utilized from the project partners for identification of the different training providers.
Thank you, Luan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your insights about Kosovo and having explained the S4RE project and the different interventions with us. Now, finally, we are going to hear more about the opportunity group approach. And for this, I'm handing over to Mimosa, who will explain this approach in more details to all of us.
Okay, then thank you, Katarina, for the introduction. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. I'll be talking about the origin of the approach, rationale for Kosovo, and adoption of the approach to the Kosovo context. As Katarina mentioned, I've been involved with this project since January 2013, when I first learned about the approach and its origin. The approach derives from LearnNet approach, and it was developed by international organizations, mainly by German technical cooperation. It is a solution-oriented approach. It starts with a problem or need and then generates a group solution to the need. To solve the problem, people need skills. They need knowledge and understanding. As Juan mentioned earlier, in Kosovo we started using learning group methodology for the first time in 2013, and we used it aiming to address the challenges of rural youth to access skill development programs, mainly to address challenges due to poor coverage of vocational trainings, be it private or public, then the social and financial barriers due to distance and transport costs, training programs length and timing as well, and also entry requirements. Learning groups in Kosovo was designed for rural youth, women and minorities with limited access to training opportunities to provide them with multidimensional learning opportunities in an economically feasible way, and initially the focus was on learning. The project adopted the approach and has adjusted it, shifting from the focus on learning to an approach where local income generation opportunities were first identified, and then training programs were developed around those opportunities. The approach is now complemented with tools such as rapid market appraisal, and we also use DACUM technique to develop training curricula. Both tools used to ensure the groups get trainings which are appropriate, of high quality and employment oriented. Opportunity group approach has proven to be successful in mobilizing and engaging youth along with their families, communities, and local institutions to empower them so they reach their full potential. It helps them in building skills and competencies to engage available assets and resources and foster relationships and networks that help them reach their objective of employment. Now, S4RE has developed a video, or has prepared a video to explain better visually the process of the approach, and is happy to share it with you today. So please start the video in your own screen. If it doesn't work, start it with the link provided in the chat by Daniela. It might take a while until the video is running, so be patient.
Helvetis Kosovo, Skills for Rural Employment, presents the Opportunity Group approach as an effective tool to address skills gap and unemployment. Hi, I'm Don, and my job is to facilitate income and employment opportunities through skills development programs. My job is to support everyone to do their best thinking and practice. Engage youth, community, public and private sector, actors of local system to connect and find a place in collaboration according to their capacities, resources, and interest. To do so, it is important that the facilitator is someone living in the same community, recognized and respected, a good communicator, works in community engagement, understands processes, and is well informed. Kosovo is the smallest country in the Balkans. With 1.8 million people living, it has the first place when it comes to the number of youth, with 55% under the age of 30. Unemployment is high and the economy is weak and small. Youth face challenges of limited employment opportunities and skills mismatch. The challenges become more distinctive for rural areas, which are not sufficiently serviced by formal vocational education and training or VET system and non-formal trainings. Their access to employment and skills development opportunities is also hindered by social and economic barriers including distance, transport, and required level of education prior to VET enrollment. In 2013, Helvetis started with the implementation of the Skills for Rural Employment, or S4RE project, introducing for the first time in Kosovo the learning group deriving from LearnNet, an approach that was used in Africa to equip youth with skills and mobilize the use of natural and human resources. The learning group approach started as an immediate response to address the challenges of rural youth and the need for practical skills training in rural Kosovo. Over time, the learning group approach evolved to Opportunity Group or OG approach, adapting to the local context and shifting from the focus on learning to an approach where the income and employment opportunity is at the center and is taken further into a skills development program.
Hi, I'm Donna, and I would like to learn more about the Opportunity Group approach.
The Opportunity Group approach is a participatory process that guides you through different steps of self-assessment and skills development. It supports young people in job orientation and entrepreneurial initiatives. It starts with the mobilization of the youth and community through awareness meetings. Here, we identify ideas and opportunities and assess the needs of the local labor market. The community, including the local authorities, are involved from the beginning to ensure acceptance, as they must support the process by providing resources such as knowledge, land, tools, and materials. The OG approach is complemented with the Rapid Market Appraisal tool, and we use it to help the youth identify and confirm the potential for employment and income on ideas expressed during the awareness meetings. As soon as we identify interested youth for a certain trade and confirm the market potential through RMA, the OG is created. Members of the group determine main areas of potential for learning and set expectations with regard to the training. To ensure effectiveness, opportunity groups consist of 10 to 20 members. The facilitator should actively foster a mix of the participants in terms of gender and ethnicity. The rationale of creating groups stands on economic management, social, and didactic reasons. Based on the OG expectations, together with the group, we identify locally available training providers aiming to make use of locally available resources. This also allows an efficient mentoring of the group after training completion. The training provider, jointly with the opportunity group, develops training programs based on the needs and learning objectives of the OG. If the training programs are not available beforehand, we develop job profile cards based on DACM technique. DACM stands for Develop a Curriculum. This ensures OG members gain necessary competencies for a specific occupation. Job profile cards are developed through a job analysis process and involve occupational experts. The opportunity group utilize management skills and jointly decide on the training location, be it in a private business, school, house premises, or open air. They also decide on timing and sequences of the training, considering financial and social barriers of the group members, ensuring universal access to training. A group leader is elected to ensure smooth communication with the training provider, the facilitator, and other contributors to the training, to create linkages and network that will help the group during and after training. Next, the training provider will train the group on the job and ensure they gain competencies required to engage in economic activity after the training and generate income. The holistic feature of this approach is decisive for success. This means OG members are provided with life skills and entrepreneurship trainings according to the needs of the group. Entrepreneurship training helps the OG members to improve access to finance. To ensure trainings result in actual employment opportunities, the Opportunity Group approach follows an outcome-based contract system with training providers. In practice, for S4RE, this means that the trainer receives 40% of their fees when 60% of the members have entered into an economic activity after training is completed. After training completion, training providers engage in mentoring the groups and ensure the employment outcome of the training, meaning they advise the groups, help them further build the network and linkages within the sector.
Interesting. Where do opportunity groups see the benefits of the approach?
OG can benefit from the approach because youth identify and build local economic opportunities themselves and capitalize on them. Youth are accepted without requiring prerequisites and without any discrimination. Youth are equipped with in-demand economic and labor market skills. Youth can identify in-demand business areas and create a viable business. Further, local businesses and the private sector have access to improved workforce. Local knowledge and expertise is used, helps empower women, and training is highly experimental and includes only concise, relevant knowledge and skills.
Dawn, you provided me a very thorough explanation of the approach. I understand you design solutions to the problems based on analysis and put solutions in practice?
Yes, and we do that by taking a facilitative role without becoming part of the system. It is very important to have a clear vision from the start on the overall goal of an initiative to achieve sustainable and scalable impact. How do you do that? From the beginning, we have involved local authorities, local institutions, and private and civil society organizations as strategic implementing partners. This is helping us to ensure we transfer ownership of the approach and training activities continue when the project ends.
Who are the local institutions in the case of Kosovo?
It is the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare, the Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sport, local municipal authorities, employment offices, youth organizations at central and local level. However, the initiative to implement the OG approach is not limited to these institutions only. We invite all government departments, non-government organizations, or any public-private partnership to learn about the approach and use it in the communities to address the challenges they face, alleviating poverty.
Hello again. After watching the video, hopefully without technical problems, I would like to guide you through an example of OG cycle. I will try to summarize an example in 8 steps. A detailed process is elaborated in the manual. It is first the facilitator who initiates a meeting with youth and community in a location that will allow participation of 3 to 4 villages. In this meeting, local actors are invited, such as relevant municipal departments and employment offices. These meetings serve for the participants to discuss with facilitator and local actors and identify potentials in their community, meaning to brainstorm their business ideas. For example, beekeeping. Interested youth then, after the meeting, facilitated by the facilitator, conduct the rapid market appraisal, the RMA, to verify and confirm their idea. If the RMA results to be positive, meaning to confirm the potential, the opportunity group is created. It means that if during the meeting 4 to 5 participants were interested for beekeeping, they may invite more interested youth to join, those of the same interest. The RMA will help youth understand the beekeeping market. During interviews with key informants, they will also get information on the potential training providers, bee suppliers, and other information such as the most demanded products and skills required to produce those products. The locally available and affordable training providers, together with the group, set training objectives based on the needs of the groups. They also decide together on the training location and time, sequence of the trainings sessions, and also elect the group leader. The technical and life skills training is usually held in trainings are usually held in a beekeeping orchard in places nearby the opportunity group members, as this helps them to overtake the financial barriers. If women participate in this male-dominated occupation, this helps in overtaking social barriers as well. The group, with the support of facilitator, self-assesses the needs for life skills, and based on the needs, the training is provided. During the training, the trainer advises the group to save and contribute in purchasing the training material. For example, in experience of S4RE, they usually have purchased the bee boxes, and the project has supported to purchase bee families. This way they have practiced learning and also were able to initiate a small bee orchard. The interest of the group, as in this sense, training provider has helped us, the project and the partners as well, a lot to identify those most interested group members with more potential. Those are supported further with entrepreneurship training. During the training, they are supported to develop a business plan, which will help them seek support for financing. S4RE in the first phase has supported those business ideas, those groups, through Opportunity Fund. Later, these groups were supported with funding from municipalities, families, and relatives as well. Further, as for mentoring and transition to self-employment from S4RE experience, training providers have also contributed to the success of the groups. Being close to the group and the desire of training provider to see their work paid off, as well as they wanted to contribute for youth. Training providers have contributed to, in many cases, also passion for beekeeping has kept them committed to continue advising the group and provide needed support. Results-based financing was also a method used to ensure training results with actual employment. From the example we provided and presented to you, we can also draw some of the key features of the approach, what make it successful. It is the universal access the approach has in diminishing social and financial barriers that rural people may have, especially those social barriers for rural women. Further, the approach allows access of people without any prerequisites such as level of education. Second, it is the holistic approach. Youth are provided not only with technical skills, but also with entrepreneurship skills, meaning youth learn to evaluate a business opportunity and develop a business plan needed to access funds. They are also equipped with soft skills, everyday essential life skills needed to succeed, such as communication, self-confidence, customer relationship, human rights, property rights, etc. Third, and very important, it is the acceptance by local community and local authorities. This has proven to be a very important aspect of the approach. For the approach to succeed, it needs to have recognition and acceptance by the local communities, and that they provide their contribution, be it in kind, financial, or human. We have also come to some conclusion and lessons learned from our experience. The role of the facilitator is crucial to mobilize and engage youth first, and also stimulate participation of all potential actors. Second, consider and value the use of local opportunities and resources of individuals and communities. Third, have a clear vision from the beginning, follow a facilitative role, involve the local actors, and engage them from the start. This is very important. The manual we presented to you, and which was sent earlier by Katarina, and it will be also on Palmoja available, has been developed with involvement of local actors. It was a three-step process. First, we developed the manual using primary and secondary data. Second, the testing and validation of the manual with the local actors. And third, quality assurance and validation with KNL team of Helvetas.
Mimosa, thank you so much for having explained the opportunity group cycle to us and having illustrated it by the real example of the beekeepers to us. We are now very much interested in the reactions from our audience and have prepared our next poll. So the question to all of you is, do you think the opportunity group approach is applicable in your context? It's a yes, no question. And you can also comment in the chat. So far we have 13 people who reply that yes, the approach is applicable to their context. Nobody sees any possibility to use this approach. So also you can share your comments in the chat. it's wonderful, or it has been wonderful to see that so many questions and comments have come up so far. So I saw that 13 people replied yes, but now I can only see 2. But Daniela added a new category of maybe, so there are now 3 possibilities. And Nien Yen from Myanmar states so far she can't comment. This would need some more clarification on this approach, and that is why quite soon we will take up your questions. Okay, we will now close this poll with the summary that for most of you see this approach as applicable to your context, and in some cases it might be applicable. Now I would like to move on in the webinar on the to the topic of the importance that national and local partners own the approach. So not only has the focus of the approach changed over time from learning groups to an approach where income or employment opportunities are at the center of the approach. So, but also the implementation approach has evolved over time. Namely, the approach started working with project resources such as field facilitators to working with partners who have their own incentives and capacities to take over the implementation. So actors involved in the approach include local facilitators, municipal authorities, employment offices, youth organizations, youth networks, women organizations, and of course the private sector businesses. I'm now curious to hear SVRE's experiences of having national and local partners on board in implementing the approach. And for this, Luan, I have a question to you. My question is, how has SVRE managed to hand over responsibility of the approach to national and local partners?
Thank you very much, Katarina, for your question. SVRE, during the first phase of the project implementation, has involved local actors at great extent. The first phase helped the local actors to understand the project approach and its impact related to the unemployment in their communities. They understood that unemployment is not only responsibility of the central level. This issue could be addressed at the local level as well, with better coordination of the different actors. During the second phase, the project worked directly with the local actors in their capacity building, which helped them to take over the project approach and successful business models. At the central level, the project has worked with the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Rural Development, Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare, and Ministry of Youth, Culture and Sport through Rural Development Network and Central Youth Action Council as an umbrella organization of several local organizations. Working with the Rural Development Network and Central Youth Action Council, the project aimed facilitation and replication of successful business models. The project has facilitated and improved the communication and linkages of the local actors and central level actors. Probably the participants of the webinar will ask us, who are those actors at the local level? So our main partners or actors within the local community are local youth action council and youth centers, local action groups, employment offices, and municipalities, different departments within the municipalities. So this kind of summary how the project responded to the approach in regards to national and local partners.
Thank you, Luan, for explaining to us how the S4E project has handed over responsibility ownership to national and local partners, and how you did so from changing the approach from the first phase to the second phase. Now we have time for your questions, the questions of the webinar participants. We have around 10 minutes of time for discussing. So my colleague Daniela, she has been collecting your questions and remarks from the chat. We won't be able to address all of your questions, but we have collected these questions and will upload them on the Pamocha space afterwards, and we can continue our discussion then. So I will start with the first question that is about the role of the facilitator. So we have a question from Abraham, who asks, who is the facilitator who initiates the first meeting for young people in the community? Is this person from Helvetis office, project staff? So I kindly ask Mimosa to tell us more about the role of the facilitator.
Thank you for the question. I believe the facilitator was the most interesting part of the approach. Yeah, it's as mentioned on the key features for success of the approach. The facilitator is crucial for the approach to succeed. Facilitators in the first phase were local people who were located in communities, meaning project targeted 4 municipalities, rural municipalities, and we have chosen or selected people from these municipalities. It is important that they are well respected and recognized members of community. It is also very important that they are well informed. They know where the youth live, what kind of problems they have. They also need to be very much informed on the opportunities in their community. So the facilitator is crucial because it's in identifying needs of the youth, first identifying youth and then needs of them, and then addressing those needs to the local level actors as well as national level actors. The facilitator will facilitate the entire process of opportunity group approach, meaning from identifying their needs and then facilitating the rapid market appraisal together with them, helping youth identifying the training provider and the training provision as well, and further their transition to employment, meaning they will continue to oversee or the process of mentoring of youth with training providers. Therefore, facilitator is crucial. As I mentioned, in the first phase, it was a person that was engaged by the project. In the second phase, the role of the facilitator is handed over to our local project partners, such as local youth action council, youth centers, local action groups, etc.
Thanks, Mimosa, for sharing more interesting details about the role of the facilitator. Now I move on to a next topic, that is financing. Several of you have asked questions about financing. I tried to group them a little bit, and the question is for you, Luan. So my first question is, do the training providers have enough capital to run the training before completion of the training? And then other participants are curious to know, when are the payments to the training provider done? And the last question is, who is going to pay the fee to the training provider in the long run? That means once the project has ended. So a couple of questions around the topic of financing to you, Luan.
Thank you very much for your, for the question from the participants. First question was about the trainees or trainers, so it was not clear to me.
The first question, Luan, is does the training provider have enough capital to run the training without any payment before completion of the training? So I assume that this question is about the different installments that the training provider receives.
No, the question is very, very clear. So all the training providers, they have enough funds that they could start with own resources they start with based on their own resources the training until they finish. So installments will be paid as Mimosa explained earlier. So the first installment is paid usually after the training is completed, but the full installment is paid based on the kind of the result of the training which was provided to the trainees. The second question was so already I explained when the payments are done. So as I mentioned, the payments are usually done after the completion of the training and after we get the final result about the engagement of the youth into an economic activity. Another question was who will be paying the training in the long term. So the project, as was described earlier, we are working closely with local partners, and we have a strong willingness that this activity is taken over by the local actors. So mainly the municipalities, they are willing to continue to pay for the different trainings. So majority of the local actors, they have a possibility to get the finances not only from the municipalities, but there are other available funds which are related to the local economic development with a focus on the youth employment.
Okay, Luan, thank you very much for explaining to us how financing is working. Now I have one more question to the team in Kosovo, and that is, what is the solution when the training provider is not available in the area? We know from many partner countries where we are active that there aren't any suitable training providers in the area where we intervene. So the question is, what do we do then? Mimosa or Luan, one of you can take up this question. Thanks.
Thank you for the question. I mean, in cases when the solution was not available for training provider locally, because we tend and we have promoted to use local available resources and expertise as well, then of course we extend our exploration into regional availability of training providers as well. And in the first phase, we have done it ourselves as a project. In second phase, the this is being done by the local actors, and it's not only the local Youth Action Council, for example, or the youth center that does seek or try to identify the training providers. It is being done in coordination with other local actors, such as Employment Office and local action groups as well. In addition, the project has helped or has supported our local level partners to develop the training platform, which is now available, operating and running, and is pretty, very much useful by the partners, because it's a platform where trainers can register and apply or promote their services and the available trainings. The platform helps local partners to identify training providers, not only in their municipality, but in regionally as well.
Great. Thanks very much for having explained this to us. I now take up one last question, and because it was asked several times by many participants. So our participants are interested a bit in the statistics. So how many young people have attended a training cycle? How many have completed it? What is the dropout rate? And how many have finally found employment, be it wage or self-employment, and increased your income? So Luan, can you please share with us the main results with regard to these questions? Thanks.
Thank you very much for your question, Katarina. I like very much this question. So this is about the effectiveness of the project. So SRE conducted the tracer study in regards to this issue. So the tracer study is finished, and we are very happy with the final results. But there are a lot of statistics within the report that I'm not able that I give all the answers. So I will kindly request that all interested parties that this document could be available very soon in the Pamoja, and could be shared through contacting you or contacting our project directly. So again, the project gives a really very good result. In total, we had trained some 2,500 youth, and the project achieved that really very good result in terms of training of participants and the number of the people that get into an economic activity after the training. So in general, we can say that the project really had a good and tangible results.
Good, thank you very much, Luan, and thanks for having mentioned the Pamoja space. So now we are almost at the end of the webinar. I would like to invite all of you to visit the Pamoja space that you can see with this link that you see in this slide. So the manual is uploaded on this site. We will, right after the webinar, upload the presentation and the video. And we will also upload your questions, so that the discussion can go on. And as soon as the tracer study of the S4E project is that we can share it, we will equally upload it there. So now it's time for thanking all of you. So a big thank you to Luan and Mimosa, the two experts from Kosovo. I would also like to say thank you to the chat moderator, Daniela. She was also very much involved in the preparations of this webinar. Thank you to Andy for your technical support and to the KNL team who supported us with their advices beforehand. And lastly, a very big thank you from all of us to you, the participants. Thank you very much for this vivid discussion that we could enjoy in the chat. We wish you all a very pleasant day. Bye.